Hello, and welcome to my book talk for Looking for Alaska by John Green. My name is Hannah Turner. I'm a student at King University in the Adolescent Literature class. The author behind it all is John Green. He was born in August the 24th, 1977. He's a popular author in young adult fiction. He's most widely known for The Fault in Our Stars, but he's also known for his other published novels, which are Looking for Alaska, the one we are talking about today, and Abundance of Catherines, Paper Towns, Will Grayson, Let It Snow, and Turtles All the Way Down is his newest one. He has 2 degrees, English and Religious Studies from Kenyon College, and he's an avid video blogger, and he actually does that with his brother, Hank Green. They call themselves the Vlog Brothers, and they post educational videos. You have probably watched one of their crash courses in high school or even college. Next, we're going to talk about just a summary of Looking for Alaska. If you haven't read it, Looking for Alaska is about a group of college students who are seeking after a great perhaps, or in other words, meaning for life. The novel dives straight into a realistic lifestyle of young adults. The story is packed with both witty humor and seriousness. The mystery of the novel's build-up from a countdown. It begins with 136 days before and counts down to an after. The event that occurs is a tragedy. Spoiler alert, a teen suicide. Okay, the characters are who we're going to look at next. Alaska is obviously one of the most important characters, as her name is in the title. She is depicted as a young, attractive woman having brunette hair and just the right amount of curves. She is the most mysterious character of the book, hardly ever revealing any personal details of her life. She's smart, impulsive, reckless, and does not take care of herself. She's a likable character despite the fact that she betrays her friends, smokes, drinks, cheats, and pulls pranks. She just makes everyone love her for it. Pudge particularly liked her, as well as the Eagle, the president of the college. Miles, or Pudge, as mentioned a little bit before, he is an average teenager, not the popular kid, but not the nerdy kid either. The story is actually told from his point of view. Pudge conforms to a lot of peer pressure around him, and is head over heels in love with Alaska. The most interesting and unique thing about him is that he is intrigued by quote-unquote last words of people before they die. He's memorized hundreds of last words, from presidents to random biographies of people he's never even heard of. Chip, or the Colonel, as he's called, is depicted as a short guy. He is Pudge's roommate, but also a tough guy and a good leader. He befriends Pudge and was already best friends with Alaska when Pudge came to the college. He does not show much emotion toward anyone, even his girlfriend, until, spoiler alert for anyone who doesn't want to know the ending of the book, Alaska dies. This is when we see the strongest character in the book in grief, blaming himself for her death or suicide. Nobody really knows what it was. He just knows that he let her drive drunk, even distracted the president so that she could leave the campus. He feels guilty because he played a part in her death, and so does Pudge. Takumi is the next character we're going to talk about. He's more of a minor character, but he's also very important. And although not seen in every chapter, he's still part of their friend group. He's Japanese, and he has rapping skills. A part of the humor of the story is his raps. Takumi adds to the fun of the book, but he is also very secretive and keeps a lot of things to himself. Laura is the next character we're going to talk about. She's also a minor character. She's the girl that Alaska sets Pudge up with. She is from Romania and has a cute accent. She's included in all adventures and has some first with Pudge, if you know what I mean, but he never truly loves her. His heart is for Alaska, whom he actually cheats on her with in the end. Lastly, we'll talk about Mr. Starnes, or the Eagle, they call him. He's the president of the college, or he enforces the rules of the college, and he lives on campus. And he's known for his look of doom when catching students breaking the rules. He's particularly fond of Alaska. He lets her get away with a lot of things, and he's always allowing her to stay on campus during breaks. And he's affected by her death as much as anyone. Okay, next we're going to talk about some of the themes in the book. And there are actually quite a lot of different themes that you can find in this book, but a lot of them kind of tie together. First we're going to look at is college life. The book describes an accurate description of life at college, from dorm experiences to how students become friends. And it's all very, very realistic. The next one is love. It isn't the typical love that you see in a lot of young adult literature. Green goes about love in a realistic way. This novel is not about happily ever afters. In fact, none of the relationships are healthy. There is a reality of fighting, cheating, miscommunication, and sex. Green does not sugarcoat anything when it comes to love and relationships. The next thing we're going to look at is friendship. There seems to be more of a focus on friendship in this novel than love. There is a stress on the fact that one should be penalized for not being loyal. The colonel is the one that kind of enforces that rule usually. Most of the cases include leveling the playing field with pranks as the truce. The great perhaps is a repeating phrase the characters use throughout the story. A translation of what it would mean is, what is the purpose of life? What is the goal of life? Or maybe, what is life, after death? Alcohol and drug abuse is used frequently in the story. Most intoxication of these characters take in is alcohol and cigarettes. Other drugs are briefly mentioned, but it's not a main focus. Green makes the use of drinking and smoking appear almost normal, which is a reality for most people college age. Green also brings to life the consequences of these things, such as Alaska's death, being under intoxication. Next, we're going to talk about mental health. If you want to walk away with anything from this book, it should be mental illness awareness. Green shows us signs of depression and suicidal thoughts through Alaska. She makes joking comments about death, which studies have shown that suicidal teens do as well. One comment she said was, "You smoke to have fun, I smoke to die." And it seemed to be humorous at the time in the conversation because she laughed it off, but it actually had a more serious tone than what her friends thought. She also shows signs of depression through her excessive drinking, recklessness, willingness to always take the blame for things, and so much more. I feel Green wants us to be able to recognize these same signs in the people of our lives after reading this. The last theme that we're going to talk about is death and suicide, which kind of goes with mental illness. Death is a part of life most people avoid thinking or talking about. Green presents us with questions about life after death throughout the novel. The students talk about it when they are drunk, and the topic also comes up in their religious class. Like the rest of the themes, John Green is realistic about suicide and death. He wants the readers to force themselves to think about it, so maybe they could save someone showing signs or make their life meaningful themselves, instead of living without a purpose. Next, we're just going to talk about my assessment of the book. It's a mature read. Profane language, sexual scenes, alcohol and drug abuse are used. I don't know if I would call it, I would call it a young adult book. I wouldn't introduce it to younger high schoolers, but maybe older high schoolers and into college, because a lot of it is some harsher topics. I could not put it down. It was always intriguing, always humorous, always exciting, and always leading up to the climax, because it had the days before in each chapter, and it just kept me wanting to know what was going to happen after. So I really liked that he built up to that. The writing style crosses the line of traditional grammar, and I love it. The one thing I love about John Green, I've read a couple of his other books, is that he doesn't write in a boring, traditional, grammatically correct style. He's always using all caps and lots of exclamation points and using white space on the page, and he just makes the words jump out to you. And he makes reading so much more fun by doing that, and that's one reason I love his writing. For this book in particular, the message is very powerful. It reminds me to never overlook the simplest of signs of mental health struggles in the people around me. I would definitely recommend it. Here are some of my favorite quotes. How will we ever escape the labyrinth of suffering? This is a quote from Alaska. And John Green actually answers this quote, and he says that we can escape the labyrinth by forgiving. And I just really love that. The one below here we'll look at, I don't know where over there is, but I know it's somewhere, and I hope it's beautiful. And that's talking about life after death again, facing that. I go to seek a great perhaps. There we see that phrase again. And lastly, over here, we'll look at the bigger quote. We think that we are invincible because we are. We cannot be born and we cannot die. Like all energy, we can only change shapes and sizes and manifestations. They forget that when they are old, they get scared of losing and failing. But that part of us, greater than the sum of our parts, cannot begin and cannot end, and so it cannot fail. Here is my works cited page. Thank you for listening.